So can I
mitigating risk.
So can I take a real point, and you talk about those two extremes of your GA and your pay-per-view. Can you take us then to Jeff Horn, Manny Pacquiao? 51,000 in the stadium at Suncorp in Brisbane, and 50,000 pay-per-views?
Yeah, we had about probably closer to 63,000 pay-per-views, which was actually a pretty shitty amount considering the quality of the fight. And they went out at $59, I think, and we had a bigger split. Your normal split on pay-per-views 50-50. We had about a 65-40, 35 split, I think, that way in our favour because of the risk. So with Manny Pacquiao, that took a long time to put together because Pacquiao at that time was one of the biggest fighters in the world, you know. But he'd had 2 or 3 fights in America, and the last one with Timothy Bradley hadn't gone that well. And so Bob Arum, his promoter, was looking to get a fight for Manny. And we said to him, we got this kid, Jeff Horn. Bob says, no, Jeff Horn, I've never heard of him. So we had the fight with Joe Parker down here with Andy Ruiz, and we put Jeff Horn on the undercard, and Bob was obviously down here for that. And Bob's a fascinating character from Top Rank. He's been around and seen everything. And he saw Jeff Horn during the week, good clean-cut kid, you know, spoke well on the media, looked fantastic, performed really well on the night. And Bob says, yeah, if you can get the money together, we'll do it. I said, sweet. So then went to the Queensland government. This is shortening things up. Queensland government, they gave us $5 million for the fight based on we would generate a huge amount of tourism, you know, money into the economy. And it turned out, you know, it was an enormous success. I think the Queensland Museum, of all things, did more people through the gate on the Saturday before the fight than they'd ever done before because, mate, interstate travel over there is a big deal. You know, we had tens of thousands of people coming from interstate, staying in hotels, eating in restaurants, you know, going out to the museums and do whatever they did. So the $5 million up front made a big difference. The second, we sold about, I can't remember, we sold about $4 or $5 million in corporate hospitality. And then I think there's another 2 or 3 million came through the gate. But you knew it was going to be a success when we put on sale for the first day. We sold 15,000 tickets. And
Manny bought most of those, didn't he?
Well, Manny was an interesting cat. He's a really good guy and very generous. And Manny did something I've never seen before because Top Rank used to talk, because with every fighter they get an allocation of tickets to go to the event. And Manny might have had 20 or 30 in the front row. But Manny ended up spending, what did he spend? He spent about $800,000 on tickets. No shit. For all of his mates to come. He brought down a private jet, like a 757, like a big jet out of the Philippines that was full with all his mates. He brought about 800 grand worth of tickets, and off the top of my head, and I can't remember the number exactly, but as he got off the plane and come into the hotel, I had to give him, it was either $250,000 or $500,000 Australian in folding. Like, this obviously comes off his purse.
Well, in a suitcase. Like, what?
No shit. That's exactly.
A suitcase full of cash.
Yeah. So we had to sit down and count it all out. And then Manny had
Did
a
you
guy.
do the thing where you put it on the table and you flip it up and he has a look at it and go,
No, bro. We count. We absolutely count. So we counted all this money up, and Manny had a guy and a person that would give tickets and cash out to people who came to the fight who were Filipino. And where he was staying, I can't remember where he was staying, but it was like Little Manila. There were Filipinos everywhere because he's such a legend. And the previous biggest fight in Australia was 35,000, I think, to Mundine versus Green. And I reckon there would have been 15,000 Filipinos turned up from all over Australia to come and watch Manny, and we had 35,000 Aussies there, you know. So that was cool. But Manny Pacquiao was a really, really interesting, incredibly generous, different guy. Man, I saw him. He would get a shoe shine from people, and he would give them $100 tip US. You know what I mean? Through to we took him out for dinner with a whole lot of people and sponsors, and he wanted to pay. I says, bro, put that away. You know, this is ours. This is us. This is on us. He was a really, really interesting, different sort of a cat, and he become good friends with a very, very good friend of mine called Jim Bannigan. Now, Jim Bannigan is an interesting person in the landscape of Australian sport.
Is he a rugby league agent?
He is. Jim Bannigan would be the most loved and hated man in Australia, in Australian sport, at the same time by the same people, right? Jimmy just has, and Jimmy knows that he has this way of pissing people off. But one of the funniest things we've ever seen in my life is that we're on a bus. We did a national tour, so we went from Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, and doing press conferences all the way down, right, to make this. So we had Manny Pacquiao on the bus, we had Jeff Horn on the bus, we had Jim Bannigan, and a whole lot of other people. and we're down in Melbourne, and Jim has this ability to get under people's skin, right? And he likes to give them a lot of grief. I mean, to the point that you just want to bash him. Anyway, and the worst thing you can do when Jim is chipping you is to say something back. So Jimmy, in his wisdom, starts chipping Manny. So Jimmy's sitting 2 seats, and Jimmy is this fat, overweight Australian. Like Jimmy would be 5'9" or 10. He would weigh at that stage 135 to 140 kilos of just fucking fat, red face because he's so unfit all the time, but amazing sense of humour and an amazing ability to really piss people off. Anyway, Jimmy chips Manny. Manny comes back and gives him a little bit of grief. So Jimmy pikes up and he goes backwards and forwards a little bit. And then Jimmy says to Manny Pacquiao, "You can go and get fucked, you little Filipino prick." Now, I can promise you in 25 years of doing what Manny Pacquiao has done, no one, especially not an overweight, fat Australian, has ever said to Manny Pacquiao, "You can go and get fucked, you little Filipino prick." And Manny just fell on the floor laughing like he was holding his stomach because he's never had this sort of treatment before. So it just goes to show, sometimes the way you act can have different things to the outcomes that you expect. It was certainly different to what I expected.
Got a little taste of Aussie. What's Dean Lonergan like on the day of a fight like that? The biggest fight you've ever put on, all the millions of people watching. Are you stressed out? Are you anxious? Or is it all taken care of and you're sort of hands off?
You've got a lot of staff helping you out. So on the day, you might have thousands of staff, right? So we all deal. I have one point of contact with a caterer, and they might have 1,000 people working for them. On that day when you've got 51,000 people to serve. So, but my point of contact's one. Through to you'd have people who are sold in corporate hospitality. They'd look after that. Through to you'd have someone who looks after. You've got to appoint people. If you run around trying to do everything yourself, you drive yourself mental. And you've got to have a good team around you, and that's really important. I'm sure anyone who's run events or run any company will talk about the people around you make it easy or they make it hard. And the better the people you got, the easier it is.
And how much do you care about the result? What do you just care that it
I really
runs
care.
smoothly?
Oh, no. I really care about the result. Like for Jeff Horn to win that fight was massive. I mean massive, because all of a sudden that changed the landscape of Australian boxing. And now you've got a really vibrant Australian landscape for boxing, and you've got guys coming through. But that was just enormous. And of course it gave us, and Jeff, he went from making the fight before that, he fought here, he made $35,000. On that fight, he made, I think, $1.1 million because he had a base plus bonuses. And Manny took the bulk of it. Like it was just one big scoop. But, Manny, he would have spent a huge amount. And then Jeff went on to multiple $1 million paydays from there, and probably made in his career, he might have had, I can't remember, he might have had 12, 15 fights with us. And in the last 5 or 6 fights, he probably made close to $7 million roundabouts. And as a result, Jeff's, and you do that over a short period of time. Like he would have done that over a 2-year period, and he kicked it for touch after that.
Is he a school teacher or something like that?
Yeah, he was a school teacher. And what's interesting, like his wife, lovely lady, and they've got, I think, 3 kids now. When she married Jeff, yes, he was into boxing, but I don't think she expected any of this. And you want to talk about a guy whose life goes on fast forward? Like the week after the fight or 2 weeks after the fight, Top Rank took him up to America because the way deals work, you don't just get Jeff by yourself. You want to fight Manny Pacquiao, you've got to give up a thing called options. All of a sudden, we're co-promoters on this, and we lose a little bit of control, but the money's flowing, so you don't mind so much. Jeff gets taken up to America to go to the ESPYs, and he's meeting LeBron James, and he's meeting Michael Jordan. He's in the same company as these sort of people, and we had massive American sports stars commenting on the result because it was a beautiful day in Brisbane, and we fought it in the afternoon. It went back to primetime USA. He just got this tough white school teacher fighting one of the all-time great fighters of all time, and Jeff always bled a lot. So the fight was quite spectacular. And we had guys like Jim Harbaugh, who was commenting on the fight. He's one of the all-time great NFL coaches over there. There's multiple people like that. It was quite interesting, and Jeff will talk about it if you'll probably never get to talk to him, but his life went on fast forward because all of a sudden there was all these promotional things to do, and then we're fighting again, and then the promotional thing goes through the roof. And the biggest thing, we're in the media business, right? That's what we do. So the biggest transformation for any boxer is to come out of the vacuum of just training and fighting and going into the spotlight of training, media and fighting, and I can promise you the media is easily as important as the fighting if you want to get paid. If you want to get paid $5,000 for the rest of your life, sweet, don't go and do the media. But if you want to make the multi-million dollars, and when you get to 30 or 31 or 32 and want to finish and not have to work again, and you've got all sorts of choices in your life, get on the media circuit, because that's where you make money. But the media has changed immeasurably in the last 6, 7, 8, 9 years, and we're doing a podcast here, 15 years ago these things didn't exist, and it's only been in the last 3, 4 or 5 years with the proliferation of Joe Rogan and how massive he's become, and people are seeing what you can do. Podcasts are everywhere now, and this long-form interview on radio and TV that never used to happen is happening in a big way because of what Rogan's done, so it's just changing.